Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now a quick trigger warning before we do get into today's first story. There is mentions of pregnancy losses within the story, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's from Otherwise Candy 7070 and it says, am I the arsehole for refusing to cancel a 5-week work trip for my boyfriend and blocking him the day before Valentine's Day? My boyfriend, 29 male, and I, 30 female, recently reconnected after being broken up for a few months. The breakup involved a lot of insecurity and trust issues on his end, and me not being able to get over his initial lying about small things, but I've never cheated on him or given him a reason to distrust me. We've only been talking again for about a week. I already had a 5-week work trip planned to Texas and California before we reconnected. This trip is important for my career and has been planned for months. Part of the trip includes 3 days in LA with a close friend. We plan to go out to restaurants and possibly some nightlife. He says I have no business going to nightclubs and doesn't like the idea of me being in that environment. I told him I can't realistically ask my friend to go out alone while I sit in a hotel room for 3 days, especially when this trip was planned long before we got back together. He's extremely uncomfortable with me going because he says we haven't rebuilt enough trust yet. He asked me to share my location for the entire 5 weeks. I hesitated because last time I traveled, he spiraled and accused me of things and turned it into hours of fighting. I told him I was afraid it would become a disaster again if he monitored me while I was out with friends. He took that as me being sketchy and said I'm not giving him what he needs. He said if the roles were reversed, he would cancel everything for me. He also said I have the power to cancel the trip, but I'm choosing not to. For context, I've been very supportive this past week. I cooked for him, helped him while he was sick, cleaned his place, etc. He came to my house with flowers and chocolates and made a reservation at a really hard to get restaurant for Valentine's Day. Tonight, the day before Valentine's Day, he said his gut tells him I'm not the girl for him because I won't cancel or fully accommodate what he needs to feel secure. I got overwhelmed and told him I can't keep doing the hot and cold dynamic, and I blocked him. Now I'm wondering if I overreacted or if it was reasonable to block someone who said I'm not the girl for him right before Valentine's Day. Edit. I also ended up agreeing to sharing locations, and he said it doesn't count or matter now after my comment saying it would be a disaster and that I'm still going to be coming home at 5 a.m. Now let's face it, this man is a walking red flag. You initially had some problems with this guy before, the reason why you broke up the first time, but now 1 week back together and this man is already demanding she cancel a months-long career trip, share a location 24/7 and skip any nightlife with her friend. And when she hesitates, then she's sketchy. And even when she did agree to sharing the location, which she shouldn't have done, but he still moved the goalposts again. And then was trying some manipulative shit about the night before Valentine's Day, hitting her with the my gut says you're not the girl for me. You're 100% right to block him. This is a week in and this controlling behavior started. Imagine how much worse that will get down the road. Commenter says not the arsehole and keep him blocked. Just a week of talking again and it's already drama. He will sabotage your career if you let him, so don't let him. Front Tour says not the arsehole. There's a reason you two broke up and that reason hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. He clearly didn't go to therapy and work on his issues and come back to the relationship with a new understanding of what he has to unpack to be a supportive partner. He's controlling and manipulative and you're still in the honeymoon phase. Red flags everywhere. And NYC says it sounds like he didn't get over any of the problems he had that led to the breakup in the first place. Your mistake was thinking he got over his insecurities and trust issues. He really just thinks you've gotten over your problem with his desire to monitor your every move and for him to control you. He hasn't changed. What your gut is trying to tell you is that this guy is a mistake with a capital M. Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't support what you want out of your career and life and who demands that you do what he wants because he is constantly afraid you'll find someone better than him to leave him for? Trust your gut and leave him, period. Because there are plenty of men better than him who will be a partner instead of a dictator. You deserve better than a child afraid he's not good enough, so he doesn't actually try being good enough. Opie came in with her first update on Valentine's Day and says, I really appreciate all the comments and it's making me feel better to know that I'm not a bad person for wanting to do normal things. I also should have clarified that we're actually not back together. He showed up at my house one day on his knees, telling me he would never get on his knees for anyone, but he'd do it for me, and that he will spend the rest of his life trying to make up for his mistakes. He seems sincere and vulnerable, and I'm known to be too forgiving and think people can change, which has obviously cost me a lot of pain. So in this time, he was supposed to show me that I could trust him, and it could be a safe and healthy space. At first he was okay with it, although he cried to me about it and said it scared him because we haven't built anything substantial again, and wants to stop me if I meet someone and click with them. He also told me before that he was always scared to approach me because he felt I was way out of his league, which obviously created a lot of insecurity. And I can also be dragged into toxicity myself, which I've gone to therapy for and put on meds for my own emotional regulation. He said I misled him by saying this was a work trip when in reality I'll be on vacation for those 3 days. His mum spoke to me and said he's had it hard with girls in the past being cheated on when he was engaged and lost 2 babies with the girl, and the last girl also cheating and whatnot, and that needs a lot of therapy because he projects that onto me. I basically asked him if it would even make a difference if I didn't go out at night, and he said no, that at this point I cancel my trip or lose his number. He also said that what I'm doing there for work is not that great and I have a business here and I should just focus on that instead of this extra work that I'm trying to make more money from because I explained that I have so many bills and it's been stressful for me lately. Of course, he does have great qualities, otherwise this would be a no-brainer. He's extremely thoughtful and kind to me, supportive, loyal, affectionate. Everything you'd want in someone until he feels hurt or wronged. Then it all goes out the window. It's sad and it sucks, but I know I'm doing the right thing and refuse to drop my life because he wants to dictate, but I don't even know if it's going to work in the long term. And then I'll beat myself up for not taking this opportunity to make money. And I also can't let my friend down, who put in a good word for me to come, and the bosses expect me there. When we spoke today, he was nasty and arrogant. And I know he's not going to be sorry for a long time because he actually thinks he's in the right. He told me all his reasonable friends agree with him that they wouldn't want their girl across the country for 5 weeks as is, but especially not if I'm going to be partying in LA for 3 days, which I of course plan on having a night out, but I'm a loyal person, and I told him he can FaceTime me at any point and I'll answer and update him, and just pretty much do whatever he needs to make him feel comfortable. I told him he is a controlling, insecure, and nasty person. Commoner says, this isn't a relationship, it's a humiliation ritual. Girl, why are you clearing this grown man's house and letting him dictate where you can and can't be? Cut the cord already. This is embarrassing. Opie says literally. I question myself a lot too, trust me. And you're right, it is embarrassing for me. Commoner says this man is a mess. Why even entertain the idea of having to placate this disaster of a human? Unless your work entails finding him an appropriate therapist who can help him through his insanity. Why deal with this? Not the arsehole. I would not have taken his calls. Opie says the reason I have decided to observe and see how he acted this time around was because he came to me letting me know that he was in therapy and sent me his therapist's name and his appointments. Clearly, he needs more therapy or a different therapist, but I just don't want to be the one who has to wait for him to change. And Opie comes in with another update a couple of days later and says, I know a lot of you understandably have questions about why I would even consider giving him access for a second time. He seemed sincere when he acknowledged his mistakes, and he seemed angry and disappointed at himself. He showed me he had been going to therapy and gave me his therapist's name and his scheduled appointments. I think that he maybe had good intentions, but doesn't have the tools or the emotional intelligence or capacity to control his emotions yet. I know he knows there's something wrong. I don't think he knows how to fix it. However, I also know that I can't wait around until he gets better, if he ever does. His volatility is too much, and I see that clearly now. I'm no longer in contact with him and I will be leaving on my trip tomorrow night. I was never going to let him get in the way of that. I just expected a more mature response, but he is lacking and failed terribly. It sucks for him because I'm a very forgiving person. But he crossed a line now that can't be reversed, and I just don't see him the same. So thank you everyone for the tough love and the kind words. It helped and it soothed my anxiety. As of now, my feelings are more anger than sadness, and I'm trying to keep it that way. And to be honest, I'm happy for myself that I don't really give a fuck about his feelings at the moment. Maybe this will teach him a lesson for the next person. The cheeky sod, like, during one of those updates where he was saying, you basically have to win his trust back when you broke up initially because of his lying about small things because you couldn't trust him. It's just bizarre, isn't it? And I'm so relieved that OP made the right call in the end, because at one point I thought she was going to get back with him again at some point. But, that guy's got to do a lot of work on himself before he gets to a point of being in a relationship properly. But I imagine he won't, and he'll move on to someone else and project further. But, dearie me, I'm glad OP got out when they did. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story does have trigger warnings on it of mental illness, ableism, and possible concerns of sexual harassment. It's from a throwaway account, and it says, I, 33 female, don't want my friend's, 34 female, legitimately mentally ill wife, 48 female, at my wedding. I'm getting married in December, and my partner and I are looking to have a mid-sized party, probably about 75 people, comprised of our social, familial, and professional circles. I, 33 female, partner is 34 male, and my friend Anna is 34 female. A wife Bernice is 48 female. We're in Canada. Anna is my best friend from uni. Anna is divorced with 2 kids and has been married to Bernice for 5 years. Bernice loves Anna, and that's about it. Bernice is happily and consistently unemployed. Bernice has never attended or hosted a social event in anything other than a crop top and knee-length pencil skirt. Neither fit. Bernice has 2 points of conversation: alien abductions and the 2008 blockbuster video game Lego Indiana Jones. Attempts to gently lead conversation beyond those points proves futile, unless Bernice thinks the person in question may want to have sex, in which case she suddenly develops the cognizance to switch topics and asks them so directly. I don't think anyone has ever taken Bernice up on her offers to have sex with them at random, largely due to the above, but also likely due to the fact that she rarely, if ever, showers or grooms. I've never seen this happen at birthday parties, game nights, bar crawls, grocery stores, and school events. Nobody in Bernice's social circle has ever excluded her from participating in anything. It's probably pretty obvious that Bernice is neurodivergent, but to nobody's surprise, she leverages neurodivergence as a means of asserting how special she is, instead of using it as a pathway to improve her relationships and sense of self. She is perfectly content to exist exactly as she has in the past, and will likely do so until she dies. Lately, she's explored whether she has dissociative identity disorder. It's a dead-end road. Anna is happy per her own admission, and I trust that. I don't have any reason to doubt that she is making the right decision for her relationship and family. She has told me many times that she loves Bernice and that she intends to stay in the relationship. I appreciate that she is direct with me, but I can't earnestly be around Bernice for more than 5 minutes, and that sincerely impedes the amount of time I can spend with Anna, as Bernice attaches herself to Anna so intensely that it's like having a third child around when we get together. To Anna's credit, she is aware that I do not like to spend time around Bernice, but is sad when we can't all socialize together well. She has never made me feel badly for this. I love Anna's 2 children. I would like them at my wedding, and I would love Anna at my wedding too. It wouldn't be the same without her, but imagining Bernice approaching a colleague or a friend makes my stomach churn. I'm struggling hard with a tactful way to say, your wife will suck the life and energy out of my party by monopolizing the attention of either of you or my guests, and potentially making them feel sexually harassed, while still inviting Anna and her 2 kids to the event. I am considering coming at it from a boundary-related standpoint and telling Anna that I can't have Bernice at the event, given how she makes people feel uncomfortable. I don't know if it presents a mean double standard to let other guests have a +1 and not Anna, but I can't have Bernice at my wedding. I think all OP can do at the end of the day is have an honest conversation with Anna. I mean, they've been best friends since uni. Anna already knows the situation. I shouldn't imagine she's going to be shocked. Either she's going to understand and they kind of figure this out together, or it's going to cause some sort of rift. But trying to dance around this and find some roundabout loophole just isn't going to work, is it? So I think it's just time to rip the band-aid off and have that conversation so you know where you both stand. But Weird Compliment says, be honest. Tell her that while you would love for her and her kids to come, you feel very uncomfortable around Bernice because of a history of overstepping sexual boundaries and will not extend her an invite. Say it apologetically and tell Anna that you completely understand if she would rather not attend at all. And if so, then you'll be happy to reconnect with her separately sometime after the wedding. Chex replies to that saying, this is the right advice. Outline what you're concerned might happen and why, past instances of this behavior, and tell her that even if nothing ended up happening, you'd spend your wedding worrying about it. Set your boundaries. Bernice isn't welcome at the wedding and allow her to make her own choice. If she decides not to come because of this, you need to accept it. Though you can be honest about your feelings if that upsets you. PTA also be sure to center the conversation on specific behaviors and not that she's neurodivergent. OP replied saying, thank you. I agree that the random, unsolicited sexual requests are probably the most obvious fault to point to when justifying her lack of invitation. I know I don't owe anyone a justification, but she is my friend and I do want to be honest with her. I think it's important to keep in perspective that Anna might not attend and want to make it okay for her to tell me that. And there was people asking on the back of that, why does your friend not care that her own spouse is propositioning other people for sex? But there is no reply to that as yet. Someone quotes the conversation about alien abductions and Lego Indiana Jones and says, I've laughed at this sentence for 5 minutes straight, and every time I reread it, I have to chuckle. I understand why you don't want her at the wedding, but good God, you should write a book. Opie replies saying, if I hear about the brilliance of Santa Claus as a playable character or Barney Hill one more fucking time, I'm going to crush myself under Indy's boulder. Thank you so much. Another commenter says, neurodivergence is not an excuse for sexual harassment or constantly poor hygiene. Only way is to tell her plainly, be ready for the friendship to possibly not survive. Your friend has to understand her partner's behavior is not acceptable. And another commenter says, it's probably a long time that you had a conversation with Anna about Bernice, because you really can't invite Anna without Bernice, but you can not invite them both. It's been impacting your friendship in a lesser way for a long time, but now it's coming to a head with this big event. Bring it up to her that you're worried about her making these kind of sexual and other inappropriate conversations at your wedding, and it is stressing you out. And that in fact, Bernice's general presence stresses you out. Tell her that you want to be honest with her, but you aren't sure what to do here. Now, this might kill your friendship, but this friendship is in serious danger, and it's better to have an open, direct, honest, caring conversation, rather than the friendship implode because Bernice asked your boss for a quick fuck in the coat room while you're cutting the cake. So OP came in with their first update and said, we're married now, and the wedding was wonderful. Wonderful, but bittersweet. I realize now, and when I eventually spoke to Anna, that the wonderful part was having the management and dread I was experiencing of Bernice's presence off my plate when I already had so many other elements to worry about to ensure the success of our special day. When I spoke to Anna, I tried to provide as much perspective as I could and center my concrete experiences with Bernice over my feelings. Anna sent a thumbs up emoji and we haven't spoken since, and I doubt we'll ever speak again. Bernice messaged me separately and said something along the lines of, oh well, I know people think I'm annoying, I thought you would understand. And I didn't respond. I reflected a great deal on my relationship with Anna, and I realized that so much of it was rooted in managing the codependence she shared in her relationship, and that our friendship hadn't looked the way it did when we were in university together for a long time. In the time that passed after we stopped speaking, a great emotional weight was lifted off my chest, realizing that so many of the problems and annoyances Anna had brought to me were no longer mine to solve, as a result of her not having a supportive adult partner in her life. While I loved her and loved helping her troubleshoot, I was taking on a role that was outsized and ultimately caused resentment on my end. I'm trying to be mindful of the friendships I have now, the roles I play with each person, and how I interact and engage with each person's significant other. While this friendship was unsalvageable, I believe it offers a beneficial lesson for my other relationships. Thanks to all of you for your advice, kindness, and especially your compliments towards my writing style. It just flows out of me. OP came in 2 years later with another update and said, OP checking in here. Thought about this over 2 years and realized I owed an update. Some clarity and a little info. I know this is late as hell, but I didn't realize this thread was here after the initial content was removed. I'm glad it was saved for posterity. I'm grateful to the comments from people who emphasized with me. I'm grateful for the comments challenging some of the language I used and my means of communication. Here are a few clarifying facts, but first, the update. My 2025 update. Someone who used to run in the same circle as Anna and I, another friend from uni, told me that one of Anna's children is estranged from her now and lives with an aunt, and also that Anna is now in a full-time BDSM slave relationship with Bernice that is obvious enough for an acquaintance to pick up on. The dad has been out of the picture for a long time, so it is always just Anna and her kids until Bernice entered the picture. Haven't spoken to, heard from, or engaged with Anna or Bernice or the kids. Bernice had a partner move in who is about 25 years younger than she is. To my knowledge, that person is also her full-time slave girl. Elaborations on the situation. 1. Yep, Bernice is trans. Plot twist, I'm also a trans woman. My anxiety over being transphobic towards another trans person, especially one with a history of mental illness, made me lose sleep. Hope that explains the comments about transphobia. This was never a post about a perfect, neurotypical, hetero people magazine wedding where the only outlier was a trans boogeyman. 2. As for Bernice's choice of garb, nothing to do with her passing/not passing/having hair/not having hair. Her clothes didn't fit. They weren't appropriate for the season or occasion. If she wasn't an absolute tool, I'd have taken the girl dress shopping with me and covered the cost of the dress. And again, she didn't shower. I feel like asking guests to bathe and adhere to dress code is a very low bar of entry for a wedding. I wasn't asking Bernice to spend money or wear a certain color or perform outside of what I consider the social norm for a wedding. My grandpa showed up in a t-shirt. Didn't care. A few friends got a little tipsy and knocked over a vase of flowers at one point. Totally fine. My friends cleaned up and apologized. My grandpa shook the hands of every guest. It's about Bernice as a person. 3. Sending Anna a text wasn't my preference at all. It was a last resort. I should have included context that I had asked Anna several times to get together in person to have a conversation about the wedding. At first, the responses were, "Great, when can Bernice and I come over?" And when I asked to meet alone and she asked why, I said it was about Bernice. Anna refused to meet alone or discuss Bernice and the wedding at all. I think she had an idea that this may have been coming and was in deep denial. Literally, the only way I could communicate the message to Anna was through text. Why not email? Because they shared a fucking email account. Should I have involved Bernice in the conversation and emailed or just had it in person? I still wonder about that sometimes. 4. That brings me to another point. When I said, but to nobody's surprise, she leverages neurodivergence as a means of asserting how special she is, instead of using it as a pathway to improve her relationships and sense of self. That was a literal statement, not my own judgment. In conversation, she would speak of an older manager who fired her after a week on the job or an encounter with a stranger at the grocery store, and the conclusion would always be, it's because they're ableist because I'm autistic, or, well, obviously you wouldn't understand why I ask people to have sex with me. I'm a direct communicator, and you should educate yourself about autism. I'm neurodivergent. My husband is neurodivergent. She is, unfortunately, the exact worst stereotype of several marginalized populations, most of whom are completely functional. Bernice is the 1% of people who are just not. She's a person, and I treated her like a person, albeit a person I truly disliked. I'm allowed to have boundaries. 5. Regarding the conversation. It would have turned from, this is what I need from you to attend my wedding, or for you not to attend, to, you hate me because I'm autistic, with zero self-reflection or personal accountability. I wasn't asking her to suppress her transness. I was asking her to suppress the most uncomfortable, dangerous, off-putting parts of her personality. 6. I read that sister-in-law poly relationship thing, which OP is referencing to another Reddit post here, and want to start a 4-person support group. I will not ask them to have sex. Now, I hope they're doing better too, because the guy sounds like a nightmare. 7. Neurodivergence is not a mental illness. Autism is not a mental illness. There was something additional going on in addition to Bernice's autism that I could not identify, but from a behavioral standpoint, struck me as a mental illness and not a neurodivergence alone. I should have been more specific in my language. 8. Center my concrete experiences. Equals, one time Anna watched my 2 dogs for a weekend and Bernice let them out for a walk, and they were lost for most of the day. Anna apologized. Bernice pretended it was an honest mistake and that she always lets her dogs out and they always just come back. One time we had a dinner party with some of our shared friends and made 2 roast chickens. I carved it into pieces, breast, leg, thigh. Bernice took 4 pieces to herself and I split a piece with my then boyfriend / now husband. She ate it and said, "It's fine, but here's how I would have cooked it." Bernice and Anna once stopped by while they were in the area. When I was catching up with the kids, Bernice went into the kitchen, opened up an unopened bottle of wine and poured herself a glass to the brim, then offered Anna, the designated driver, a glass. Anna did not accept and did not drink and drive. One time I met up with Anna at a park with her kids and another couple I know with kids. Bernice had the day off and showed up unexpectedly and started talking about how she bought Anna a ball gag the other day and how good it looked. In front of my friend's kids. I confronted each of these indignants as I saw fit. I forgave the chicken. I asked her directly not to discuss a kink in front of minors, something special interest. I was enraged about the dogs but forgave Anna because she immediately jumped into action. And this was at the start of Bernice being Bernice. 9. All this to say, it wasn't just a laundry list of mean things because I'm a big old meanie. I sent Anna money when her car broke down and she couldn't get to work. I always sent birthday gifts to her kids and came to their parties. I was front row at T-ball games when I could make them. I offered her a lot of emotional support when she had issues with her kid's dad, or her kids, or work. She did that for me, but that went down significantly after she started seeing Bernice. I don't think I ever intruded or overstepped in Anna's life. I wasn't jealous of Bernice and Anna, and I never had a sexual or romantic relationship together. 10. Being complimented on how I wrote this was appreciated because it was cathartic to have a validation after a traumatic event. Do you think I wanted to further isolate a nearly lifelong friend and a fellow trans woman and terminate this friendship? This was a hard fucking decision. The wedding was just the catalyst. If it hadn't been the wedding, it would have been a funeral, or a child's birthday party, or another behavioral incident. There's only so much a person can take. 11. To throw Bernice a bone, not a sexual one. They were in an open and ethical relationship. Ethical being that Anna knew Bernice was always trying to find people to have sex with, using events involving more than 2 people as a swingers mixer. Not ethical. But Bernice was not a cheater. I don't know why Anna thought this flirting was acceptable. 12. Bernice was confrontational and abrasive if people expressed opinions in conversations she didn't like. She had only 2 areas of interest, but a lot of opinions about politics, sports. She was the kind of person to call things sports ball, celebrities, and food. This included small group conversations she might not have been a part of, like the type you might see at a wedding. For instance, if someone said to someone else, "Lego Indiana Jones sucks, and I like Bernice's least favorite video game at the party," it would not have been unlikely that Bernice would have gotten in that person's face and shouted at them, then justified it because of autism. Shouting is not euphemistic here. Bernice was fucking loud. 13. I don't know why I was the only one in the friend group who found Bernice's behavior offensive and excluded her over time. For all I know, other friends were uncomfortable but didn't feel like they could confront it. I think it's great that people included her, and please know that I tried hard. Nobody likes it when their friend is a bitch about their boyfriend or girlfriend, and I did my best to make Bernice feel welcome and tried to get to know her. This post was the culmination of a lot of headaches for very little reciprocation from Anna. Bernice was the explosion, but Anna was the slow burning fuse. 14. I saw something that tugged on my heartstrings this year and reminded me of Anna. So I dusted off my older brother's old Wii and played a little Lego Indiana Jones. It was great. I wish Bernice had been tolerable enough for me to tell her that it was a fun game. 15. Now that I'm reflecting on all this, Bernice might be narcissistic. Thanks for the lessons in the N/N distinction, everyone. I don't think I have any further updates after this. Thanks for the support, the laughs, the encouragement, and the constructive criticism. Finally, I'm not identifying them or providing any photos. If I'm allowed to rip on their shitty behavior online, they're allowed to stay anonymous. No more requests. If you know someone like them, nip it in the bud. I waited and it escalated badly. Know your boundaries and stick to them. And like we were saying in the first part of the post, it was always going to go one of two ways. Anna was either going to understand or she didn't. And she didn't, which I think was pretty evident from the thumbs up and then silence. But it took a twist I wasn't expecting, the full-time BDSM slave relationship with Bernice. That was a twist I wasn't expecting. But I think regardless of what happened, OP made the right call in the end. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today